All right. Good morning, Jeremy. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Good. So I just wanted to speak with you a bit this morning, since we're heading into the winter season, just some advice for, all of our clients out there, whether they are renting or they own. But first, could you just introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them a bit how you got into the home inspection business and how long you've been doing it for?
Yep, I'm Jeremy Provan, and our home inspection company is ProVantage Home Inspections. I started doing home inspections about 15 years ago. It was in 2005. And I was sort of in between jobs, if you like, at the time. And I just wanted to do something to do with houses. And I didn't know what it was. And I'd done, my own kind of construction things. I built a little house up in West Virginia that's still standing, amazingly enough. And I didn't know much about it at the time. So I wanted to do something to do with houses, and I was just having lunch one day, and I was just catching a little bit of TV, and there was an ad for home inspection training, and so I thought, that sounds interesting. I looked into it, put the last of my savings into that training program, came out of that kind of excited about the whole thing, and it was strange because I started a little bit late in life, I think. Some people start this career very early, but once I started, I was like, this is really me. I felt like I'd really found myself in a way. It was just the kind of thing I like. I'm kind of an information sponge. I just soak it up. I love it. And I like houses and I understand houses. It all makes sense to me. So I feel great. I actually get paid for doing something I really love, which is amazing.
That's great.
Yeah. And I feel like it's a nice, honest thing to do. And our prime occupation really is to help them understand what they're getting into. And then sometimes we do troubleshooting for people who are already living in their houses and they have issues that they don't understand, or maybe they have trust issues with contractors. They want to verify that the contractor is selling them the right remedy, that type of thing. So it does break out beyond just house purchases. But I think when people are buying a house, that's the main part of what we do.
Okay, great. So, temperatures are continuing to decrease with every passing day. Could you describe 3 commonly forgotten things that everyone, regardless if they're renting or own the house, should do in preparation for the winter months ahead?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind automatically is the hose bibs. And pretty much everybody has them. Even in a small condo, sometimes there'll be a hose outside, a spigot. And very, very important to know where the shutoff is, which is somewhere inside. A lot of times that can be in the mechanical rooms, to the water heater, or sometimes it's up, in some houses it's over, like there's one on the front wall and one on the back wall, somewhere in the basement. It's important to know where that is. So what we need to do there is we need to shut that valve off or turn it off. Mm-hmm. And then there's a little bleed valve. You can open that up and drain the line out. If you can't find a bleed valve, you can shut it off, open it at the outside, and let that line drain out. That's really important because if water sits in the line at the point where it passes through the wall, gets super cold, it's going to freeze. And then as soon as it thaws out, there'll be water spraying everywhere. Yeah. Most people will only forget to shut off or winterize their hoses like once in their lifetime because the damage is extensive, and then the plumbing bill, of course, is outrageous. So that's number one, would be winterizing the hose bibs. And then I think cleaning the gutters is pretty essential. Cleaning the gutters is always important. But in the wintertime, what happens is if you don't have the gutters cleared out, all the leaves will sort of float down towards the drop cup. And they'll sort of form like a plug, and they'll block the drop cup. Then you start getting a little rain that fills up and sits in the gutters. And then you can have snow or ice, and that will just form a big block of ice. It'll start expanding the gutter and damaging it. Sometimes the gutter will pull away from the house. And that's all mostly because of the standing water that freezes. Mm. So, and then if you don't clean the gutters, of course, water is going to spill over. And then you can have water leaking around your windows. You can have water hitting the ground and trying to leak into the basement. Mm-hmm. So one of the most important things is gutter cleaning. A third thing, you see, going into winter, I think probably the servicing of your heating and cooling equipment. Mm. And we recommend that twice a year. And sometimes it's like, yeah, maybe the system's a little newer and we don't need to service it, But it's like a new car, It may not need much, but it should be looked at by a professional because they can find things that are going wrong before they develop into big problems. And you don't really want to be, January the 1st. It's like you can't find anybody and suddenly the heating breaks down. If we maintain it, I would like October is when I would get a service and have it ready set up for the winter so you can kind of go into the winter. And then tying into that, of course, is this idea of changing the filter on your furnace, which is also really important. And every homeowner should be doing that, whether you own your home or if you're renting. You can't expect even your landlord's going to come over and like, hey, have you changed your filter? Some, property managers might do that. Some landlords might, but ultimately the air that you breathe is passing through that system. So having the unit serviced before winter, and then making sure you got a nice clean filter in there. And that could be changed depending on the type of filter every 30, 60, 70, 90 days. Some filters, the big 4-inch filters, they can go longer. So I'd say those are the 3 things really the most important.
Right, right. Proactively, what are some signs that people should keep an eye out for as an indication that there could be a problem?
Well, if you have a basement, you need to be going around the basement every now and then. And, when we're doing a home inspection, we'll be walking around whether the basement room is finished or unfinished. We're looking at the junction between the floor and the wall a lot of the time. And we're looking at that baseboard. The stains on the baseboard, that might be the tip of the iceberg. We may have a little water seeping in from the outside. And then you can have some rot on whatever's framing maybe inside. You could also have mold growing behind the drywall. And that ties into your indoor air quality. So I think it's always a good idea. One of the things that I would suggest trying to avoid is that people, everybody has stored items and space is a premium in a lot of houses. And I see people piling stuff up in front of the water heater, piling stuff up in front of the furnace. And you kind of need to see these. Actually, we were in a house yesterday. The house is only 2 years old. And there was a lot of stored items in the kind of utility or mechanical room in the basement. And I kind of climbed over some stuff, got over to the water heater, I looked in the tray underneath it, and there's water standing in there. The house is 2 years old. So, it seems like it was spitting out from a pressure valve on the water heater, but I don't think, the homeowners even knew that was going on, and now the case of the water heater is rusting. Who knows what else is going wrong with it? So you sort of have to look around. And so especially if it's a gas furnace, a gas water heater, you don't want to be piling stuff in front of it. Keep it clear for access so you can get to it, you can change the filter, you can see what's going on. And that follows through to the summertime for your air conditioning, because it's not uncommon. If this unit hasn't been serviced regularly, that the condensate drain will block. And then AC condensate, which is water, just drips onto the floor. Now you go in looking for a box, and the box is wet and moldy, on the floor in the basement. So allowing access for those important things, and then just having a look around, especially the basement, for clues that there might be moisture coming in. And of course, that if there is moisture getting through the walls, we're always going to look on the outside, primarily. Where's it coming from? It could be a negative grading slope moving towards the house, blocked gutters. Those things are important. So we need to make sure we've got positive grading away from the house, the gutters are clean and functioning. Then we can attempt to have a nice dry basement. And if the basement's dry, less chance of mold, moisture intrusion, and the whole house tends to benefit from that. So fundamentally really important. And don't be afraid to run a dehumidifier. I know some people are like, oh, dehumidifier, they must have moisture problems. But in reality, I have a dry basement, but I run a dehumidifier because I live in the mid-Atlantic region of the USA, where the outside humidity is off the charts in the summer. So dehumidifier is really important, at least for the 6, 7, 8 months where it can be a little bit warmer.
Great. And then just one last tip you would like to leave with our viewers about, winter maintenance. What would it be? Any one last words of wisdom for them?
Well, I think one thing that I think people don't do, everybody in this area that I know anyway, pretty much everyone's working hard. Everybody's busy. And, we get home from work, we're tired, and then the weekend comes along and there's so many things going on that we want to catch up on and do, or maybe just want to just sit down and, watch the Manchester United game or whatever it is you want to do. And I think what people don't do, and they probably should do, is when it's really pouring down with rain, grab a big umbrella and do a 360 walk around the outside of your house, or the front and the back, or whatever it is, even if it's a condo. Have a look see what's going on, because water spilling out the gutter, leaking all over the place, these things over time take their toll. So I would say, if I got 5 minutes and there's a heavy downpour going on, I'd be like, okay, I'll put on a jacket, get an umbrella. Let me just walk around, do a little 360 around the outside. Let me see what's going on. Maybe I'll see something that I wasn't aware of. There's a river of water flowing towards my foundation wall that I didn't know about. You need to know about these things. Or this gut is leaking or spilling. So I think that would be an important thing to do.
That's great.
Pretty easy.
And if anyone wants to learn more about you and your company or have any questions, where can they find you online?
Well, we do have a website. It's fairly basic. If I had a little more time, and mostly I'm just working, and we had somebody put the site together for us. If I had more time, it would be like this encyclopedia of information, but it really is fairly basic. But www.ProVantageHomeInspections.com, and that's really just a contact place for us. But like if I'm not sure about something myself, sometimes there's always new things or things that we don't know about. I'll always just research it, Google, and you can find lots of resources online. There's no reason at this point that a homeowner could be, ill-informed, because there's so much information. But when I'm researching information, I'm looking for 2 or 3 sources at a minimum. I try to get the sense of what's really the reality. And I don't just go, oh, one source, okay, I'll accept that. I like to get a little backup information. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Jeremy. Really appreciate your time, and we'll see you at the next home inspection.
Great. Thanks, Lauren. Have a great day.
You too.
See
Bye.
you. Bye.